WrestleMania season is always one of the most exciting times of the year for wrestling fans. And we naturally like to make our own predictions for what matches are going to be on the card, fantasy booking. Earlier this year, my co-host Thanasia and I made our predictions for the card of WrestleMania 40. And with essentially the whole card now announced, we decided to take a look and see how our predictions fared. We are going to discuss them in four categories. Firstly, discussing matches we got bang on the money, then the matches that we've sort of got correct, followed by the matches we did not predict correctly at all, and then finish it off with matches that we didn't even think were even a possibility. A hint, hint, it's the main event of night one. Thanase, are you ready to take that walk down memory lane?
I am ready, willing, and Gable. Let's get into it.
Aha. Well, that's not what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the match that I think we felt the most confident in almost, and that was Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. I think we felt that was a logical way to conclude this rivalry, sibling rivalry, and we've got it. So we that's one for one.
Good for us.
After that, we predicted for the Women's World Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. So we got that bang on the money. It didn't happen. Well, actually, no, it did happen basically as we predicted. Because after the Rumble, we said, well, she'll probably win the Elimination Chamber number one contenders match. And that's exactly what she did. So we got that bang on the money too. And then on top of that, the WWE Women's Championship, we also guessed correctly, but I think that one was as obvious as the Jimmy J match, to be perfectly frank.
That being said, though, sometimes most predictable matches are actually the right way to go about it, right? It's predictable
Oh,
for
of
a
course.
reason, right? The
Yeah, of
story
course.
fits.
Yeah, and look, this was one of those predictions that we said we weren't just saying that because we would like to see, we're saying because that's what felt right.
Indeed.
Likewise, and there was a time in which this looked very shaky indeed, but we did eventually get correct predictions on what the WWE Universal Championship match was going to be, and that was Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. That one was, at a certain time that looked perilously not the case. And I think a lot of fans were going to riot, probably myself included. But we are getting that match, which is good. You're happy that we've managed to make that official?
Well, like you said, we were getting really worried about it for a while because I would have thought that this was also a surefire thing after Cody won the Rumble and pointed at Roman. He didn't say in the press
Yeah,
conference, I'll make my announcement. He made it very clear. Like, I pointed to the guy. I know what I want.
yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our correct predictions. So we got four matches bang on the money. On to our somewhat correct predictions. For the World Heavyweight Championship match, we predicted Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. We were so close. We added in Sami. We felt like he deserved a championship match, and given what has happened, we were obviously right in thinking he deserved one. But he didn't get this one. It was just we've gotten just Seth versus Drew. Are you happy with that outcome?
I'm quite happy with it, knowing what I know about Sammy as well, but also, um, like we would have been keen for Punk to be in this spot, frankly,
Absolutely.
and as we felt around that time when we made the predictions initially,
Yeah.
but the opportunity opened for Drew McIntyre to fill that void. He got there. I'm very satisfied with that, and our prediction was close as well, right? Like we were
This
tossing
one
up.
this one was very close, and I think even at the time we couldn't agree on should we do Sammy or Drew, so we just said let's just put them all together.
Yeah,
But
that's
look,
right.
I've really enjoyed Drew's work as well, since sort of turning into this like heelish persona. I think it's been fantastic. Another match that we kind of got correct was the one for the tag team titles. And we predicted Judgment Day versus DIY or Awesome Truth. All three teams are going to be involved in the tag match. So we've kind of gotten it half correct. We didn't predict a ladder match, but I think we did pretty well there. Obviously, there are other teams as well, New Catch Republic, or as we like to call them, British Strong Style.
Thank you very much.
And we've got the combination of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, probably the most disliked
Eight
wrestlers.
Town Down Under.
And and obviously with the New Day as well. So I think we did pretty all right with that prediction, I would say.
I'll take that one as a partial credit mark, if we can express it that way.
Yeah. All right, another match that we predicted didn't really turn out the case, but they are going to be battling in days. We predicted Bobby Lashley and Karrion Kross as a feud match. Instead, we're getting their factions going at it. So we've got the Pride, which is Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament, which is Cross and Authors of Pain. I actually don't mind this. I think this has been a bit of a lackluster feud, but you give everyone a Mania moment. I don't mind it, you know?
Yeah, I mean that was fine. I actually thought that Scarlett and BFAB might get involved physically as well before they announced that it was a street fight. And I mean it is no DQ, so they probably will get involved physically anyway. But I thought that they would get match billing on this. In any case, again, this one I think is an acceptable partial credit because I think we were tossing up if this was going to be a six man or a 1v1.
Yeah. The next thing I want to say, and this one is a bit of it is a bit of a mess, but we basically decided that the luchadors of WWE deserved a match, and that we sort of just said any combination of Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, Andrade, and Dominic Mysterio would be in a match. Three of them are in a match together, and obviously we've got the Rey teaming up with Dragon Lee to face Escobar and Dominic. I still think there is the potential Dragon Lee gets injured or something, kayfabe wise, and there may even be a switch. I don't know, but I think all in all, that is a match that we kind of got correct, just on the sheer point, the sheer reason being that we didn't want to commit to any one, so we're just like, let's just put them all in the mix. And I am intrigued by that tag team match. I wouldn't say it's exactly what I was wanting, but I'm also not against it either. Is that how you feel about it?
Look, I mean, I think I would have preferred some kind of singles contest. And Dragon Lee is very well deserving in this spot as well. I do think that Andrade probably would have been a better fit purely because of the teasers that have been happening on Monday Night Raw with him and Dominic Mysterio. But overall, this is a good little outcome for the WrestleMania card, and another 3 out of 4 right for us as well. So I think that one was pretty close too.
The other one we've got, and this one is probably on the lower spectrum of somewhat correct. We said as a potential dream match, Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. Instead, what we're getting is them teaming up with Naomi to face Damage Control. I I'm just gonna say it. I think our prediction of the match would have been way more Mania pop worthy for this year. It's possible they're saving it for another year, and that's fine. But I think honestly the only reason they didn't do that is because they didn't want to commit to either one of them being a heel, and they'd rather just let them all have that collective victory and maybe just extend Bianca's win record at Mania for another year as well. So really make that something that's coveted in the years to come to actually dethrone her. But I am actually excited to see them and Naomi at Mania perform well. I'm a bit disappointed the Damage Control aren't defending the tag titles, but I guess it is what it is. That actually does disappoint me though. I think Mania's a place that every title should be on the line, really.
I wholeheartedly agree, and even on that point, right? Because we thought that Bianca and Jade Cargill would have a one-on-one. I mean, it also means that by that not being the case, night one I think has only 3 singles matches. Everything else is like a tag match or a 6 woman
Yeah.
or a 12 man 6-way tag match as well. So it's a little bit WrestleMania 2000 vibes as well in on the night one card.
Yeah. On to the next category we've got, which is just incorrect predictions. And to start off with, for the IC Championship, we predicted Gunther versus Sheamus. Now, this one, I led the Sheamus prediction. I'm going to put my hand up and say, not only did we get that wrong, Sheamus hasn't even shown up. So it's completely wrong. We are obviously getting Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the IC Championship. And you know what? I'm actually, with the way they've done it, I'm actually quite happy with that instead. I think Sheamus would have been cool, but I think with Sami, it's equally quite awesome.
Very much so. I'm actually really keen for this match. And I think I was actually wondering around that time, like maybe Sammy would be a good IC fit potentially. I mean, we were being optimistic and putting him in the world title picture, but giving him an IC title match is still quite prestigious as well. So hopefully he steals the show on night one.
And hopefully, if he does win, he can carry on the good vibes with the IC Championship that Gunther has been able to instill, especially under the Triple H regime. Onto the other secondary singles title for the men's division. For the US Championship, we predicted Logan Paul versus LA Knight. Now, we're going to get a bit later into what we thought would be uh, good for all these guys, but we thought that LA Knight, it just felt like a natural fit. He beats Logan for the US Championship. We're not getting that. We're getting Logan versus Randy versus Kevin Owens. I am actually a bit disappointed because now I feel like you have to have Logan retain, just because for Randy and Kevin Owens, it really doesn't add anything to them to get that win over Logan Paul. So that it actually means more if he defends successfully. But I'm kind of annoyed because I felt like this would have been a great place for LA Knight to get his first title in on the main roster in WWE.
See, the way that I'm looking at it is I think generally the way that they try to structure WrestleMania cards is you don't want to have too many title changes at one point in time.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, you look at the card, right? Everyone's wanting Cody to win, Bailey to win, really Drew McIntyre to win as well. You can make an argument for Sami Zayn too. If we had LA Knight in there, he would be a surefire favorite to take the US title. And that just represents a hell of a lot of title changes as well in the singles divisions. So it is disappointing. I agree. And it's even worse because it probably means that Logan Paul's going to get a victory over two former world champions, which is massive props for him. But in any case, hopefully maybe like Backlash or further down the line, we can see LA Knight get that US title win.
Building off of that, we had predicted the matches of AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, obviously, these plans got interfered. AJ Styles will be facing LA Knight in a grudge match, and Randy and Kevin Owens, as we mentioned before, are going to be utilized in the US Championship, which leaves Shinsuke with nothing to do. Um, I'm not gonna. I am kind of glad that if LA Knight's not got a title match, that at least he's got a high profile singles match because I think a guy wrestling AJ Styles is a big deal, and I think he will relish that chance to actually be on the Mania card because this is his first time in his career that he's actually wrestling at the Showcase of the Immortals. So I think having that and the fact that he's going up against a legend of the business, I think it doesn't make up for it completely, but it is something. Uh, how do you feel about that? And also, how do you feel about Shinsuke not getting a Mania match to work?
Admittedly, I am disappointed that Shinsuke's not getting a Mania match because, as you recall, he had a really, really nice TV feud with Cody, showing that he's still got it. He's not going anywhere. He's in really good shape. As far as LA Knight goes, I am really, really hoping that with his match, it's going to be a little bit like an Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25, where they were thrown together. Probably not. They're not. Look, physically, LA Knight is no Undertaker. He's no Shawn Michaels. Okay, athletically speaking. However, with that dance partner that he's got with him, they can really go out there. And I'm looking at the Night 2 card. They can have the best wrestling match on this card, probably rivaled only by Rollins versus McIntyre. But Rollins is going to be fatigued, so it's going to be a much more story-led match. Io Sky versus Bailey, both of them have the wrestling ability, but because there's story going into it, it's going to be a much more story-heavy match. Likewise with the main event. So I think LA Knight versus AJ Styles is going to be the wrestling match of the night, and I hope that they do pull it off and get that bravo for themselves.
As a huge fan of AJ Styles and LA Knight, I sincerely hope you're correct. I really do. Uh, we'll see what happens. And then the other match that we incorrectly predicted, which to be honest, I don't think is our fault, given with hindsight, we predicted Asuka and Kairi Sane to defend their women's tag titles against Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. They're not defending the titles at all, so for all we know, we were right and we just didn't get the match. But technically, this is also very much an incorrect prediction on our part. I think they would have been a good tag team to challenge for those titles as well. So maybe down the line we see that, but right now that is not the case. Any other thoughts you wanted to raise on that?
Nothing further on that one. I'm just a bit disappointed that we're not getting them to defend the belts.
It's absolutely the same as me. And then finally, we had a match that I'm not counting this as an incorrect prediction because no one even thought to predict something like this. We're getting The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody and Seth. This is something that we've been talking about every week on the channel. But the fact is, a couple months ago, right after the Rumble, no one thought to predict The Rock in such a bout. Like, I don't think anyone really anticipated this sort of thing happening, and it's happening. What it like try to think back from a couple months ago. If I had told you this is what was happening, what would your reaction have been?
A complete and utter disbelief.
Yeah.
Right? The idea that The Rock was going to come back, be in the main event. I mean, we even got really, really dangerous at one point because The Rock was actually going to, at one point, challenge in the main event of night two for the world title. So that would have been scary, let alone unbelievable. Thankfully, the people's voice was heard and was listened to. So that part was great, but unbelievable. And I don't think that we should be losing any marks at all for not predicting this particular one.
In any case, to wrap it up, we got 4 matches out of the 13 completely correct. And that's really the only mark I'm going to credit us for. I'm not going to talk about these half marks that we were really close to. But I think that's commendable. And I think it does say something that 3 of the matches that we got correct were world title matches. I think it says something about the logical choices being carried through. And that is a good thing, I feel. Because, like we didn't predict that just because like, oh yeah, this should this would be great. We're predicting it because we felt logically that was the right place to go. And it's nice to see that WWE eventually followed that path for all of them. So, I don't know. I'm very excited for Mania. Are you excited for Mania, Thanasio?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm ready for it. This is going to be a very big weekend or a very big Sunday, Monday, I guess, for us here. So I'm very excited for it.
Let us know in the comments below if your predictions were any better than ours.